Applications are the core of everything in any business, and quite often that they can get lost within the mix. Um, People forget about them, and until something goes wrong with them. Once you have an issue with your applications and the business grinds to a halt very quickly, it becomes a focus point. So for our focus today is the journey of the applications when you're looking at them from the testing of them to the remediation of them to the delivery of them. I'm delighted to have three very knowledgeable speakers joining me here today. First, we have James Graham from Remo3. James, could you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thanks, Shane, and thank you for having me. So, hey, everybody. So, I am James, and I am a field CTO covering the EMEA region for Remo3.
Thanks, James. Also joining us, we've got Nigel Woods from AppCure. Nigel, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi. My name's Nigel Woods. I'm Technical Sales Director of AppCure and had 25 years of working with both Citrix and applications.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nigel. And last but not least, James O'Regan joining us from Liquidware. James, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks, Shane, for this opportunity to join today. I'm really looking forward to this. My name is James O'Regan. I am a product marketing manager at Liquidware, and I've been in EUC for about 18 years, having done a whole plethora of roles within the EUC and all based on the things we're talking about today, which is applications, which we've all been talking about since I first started in EUC.
Yeah, thanks for that, James. So as I mentioned, the topic of the webinar here today is from the here to there. So as we talk about how we address applications when looking at them from an EUC perspective, and when it comes, I think, James, when it comes to an organization's application estate, it can be an absolute monster to deal with. Yeah, you've got the lifecycle management, the versioning, and the testing of applications. From the conversations that you've been having with customers, what are the most common challenges that they're facing these days?
Yeah, thanks, Shane. There's quite a few, right? So speaking with our customers, we've seen many challenges around sort of managing the beast that is a complex Windows application estate. And let's be clear, right? This is not a new problem that has suddenly begun to surface due to, say, fundamental technology shift. This is a challenge that's been around for some time, but customers are starting to suddenly realize that depth that they have built up over the years, and this realization, I would say, is being fueled by customers on their journey to the clouds. And that journey could be, say, a cloud BDI move, for example, to AVD, or Windows 365 as examples, or even something more simple as Windows 10 to Windows 11, or maybe even looking to move away from something like SCCM, for example, and maybe go to fully sort of cloud native management of their Windows estate. And in addition to this, we also have some key dates looming around in the not too distant future. Windows 10, end of life 2025. We've got AppV the year after, and then I think the next one is Server 2016 in 2027. So there's some key things on the radar for customers, and as they begin to embark on these journeys, they very quickly come to realize that they need to bring their apps along with them on that journey. And so this leads me to the challenge number one that I see with our customers, and this is discovery. What customers what do we actually have? What is that technical debt that we've built up over the years and not had the time or budget to understand what they have and then rationalize that estate? And this exercise alone can be quite a burden on an already stretched IT team. And it's not surprising that many customers have allowed this sort of hoarding of apps to just build over the years, almost like a large bubble that in some organizations is close to bursting. And so once a customer understands what they have and what they want or need to take with them, this then can lead to challenge number 2, right, which is, will the app actually work in this new desired destination? When I say work, will it successfully install and will it launch for their end users? And again, this isn't necessarily a new challenge that they're facing. Customers have been on this journey before, whether they went to, when they went to Windows 7 or Windows 10. But they're still haunted, right? Haunted by that pain. And this ends up with them potentially putting off maybe an OS upgrade out of fear, and then finding out they're running out of time and start panicking to get it done. But I suppose it's right that they fear these changes. Like, I've seen customers, Citrix estates, for example, get taken down by something as simple as a monthly security patch, right? And customers are unable to really foresee this risk, that when it does happen, it can have a pretty big impact on their environment. And then, like, this can be really exacerbated by in-house line of business apps, and also customizations they've applied to third-party apps, for example, and also customizations they made to their Windows operating system. And it's all of these complexities that risk causing apps to fail. And these components aren't static either. So you have Windows updates, you have app updates, and all of these things customers are having to manage and deal with. And typically how customers deal with these challenges is through testing, right? Test. But this is usually undertaken using manual methods, either by the IT teams themselves or asking trusted users to take time out of their day job to perform testing, both of which are, as we know, time consuming and can have knock-on effects from an operational and productivity perspective. And alternatively, customers can look at this sort of modern way of doing things, which is, hey, like, you don't need to test your apps. At Microsoft, we see 99.6% app compatible with Windows 11. And like, that approach can be okay for customers that don't see app failures as high risk, impacting revenue, or those application estates mainly consisting of SaaS or modern apps or off-the-shelf third-party apps. I think we're all still waiting for this sort of SaaS revolution to land, and I think Nigel will talk to some of that next up. But for complex customers, like, this is just too high a risk. And during my time at Microsoft, I've seen some of the largest financial institutions being impacted by app failures due to compat challenges. And for some, they were able to leverage the Microsoft App Assure service to solve these challenges, which is great, but it's also, that's a shared service, right? So that means that these fixes can take time to appear. And I've seen Windows 10 rollouts get blocked for weeks on end whilst customers were waiting for a single app or a bunch of apps to run in their environment. So really, testing is still a big challenge for customers.
Yeah, and you mentioned there when we were talking about testing, quite often it can be, that trusted user or that manual approach to testing. So it sounds like to me that really automation is going to be the key for really progressing the application testing. Like, how can organizations leverage automation better for their application testing?
Yes, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Shane. Right, so automation is key to this, to really solve that impact on productivity and impact on IT teams, and especially the challenge like number 1 and number 2 that I just talked about. And with us at Remo3, right, it's all about automating these challenges and thus allowing customers' IT teams to only focus on where the problems lie, rather than having to touch every single application in their estate. And we're a cloud platform, right? So that is therefore deployed into the customer's Azure subscription. And this then has the key benefit of enabling us to connect to the customer's networks, to enable the automated importing of the customer's existing application estate from, say, SCCM, for example. And from there, we're able to automate the full discovery of the customer's existing application estate. And it's this discovery process which includes us pulling in the metadata representing the application intelligence, as well as us provisioning Azure virtual machines. And it's these virtual machines that can be provisioned with either like a vanilla Azure Marketplace gallery image, for example, ideally with the customer's custom OS build, right? And this custom build is going to include all of their base applications, their key prerequisites, as well as any important sort of customizations that they've made. And we can also domain join that if we really need to, but essentially making anything we do contextually relevant to the customer's environment. And what we're able to then do is then automate that installation of the application, which allows us to fully understand everything that that application lays down during that install process. And importantly, we're able to discover the shortcuts that get deployed. And it's these shortcuts that we use to understand how the application then runs in the customer's current environment. And we're able to do this with our automated testing process. So leveraging the Azure VMs that are able to install the application and run those shortcuts that we discovered. And at this point, we also capture performance metrics, say against CPU, memory, disk, and network. So essentially, this process enables us to fully automate the onboarding of the customer's application estate. And then we can begin to help them on their modernization journey. And at Remote3, we pride ourselves on, I suppose, being this agnostic entity when it comes to the customer's desired destination. So we provide the customers with key data points from their application estate to help them understand like what's viable and what works best to suit their application estate. And like this could be a move to AVD, for example, or Windows 11, but essentially we invite the customer to select their desired OS. And again, this could be a custom build or a vanilla marketplace image. And we're then able to automate the testing of their apps against that desired state. And our automated testing process consists of us provisioning the VM, installing the app, running any of those shortcuts that we discovered. If a dialog box pops up during the launch of an app, we're able to click on it and get to that point where the application launch stabilizes. And then essentially we just monitor that app for any crashes, anything that indicates the app's failed. And customers are able to access live video, recorded video, screenshots, detailed log file of all of the tests. This provides audit trail for successful tests, but more importantly, key evidence to accelerate remediation of when an application fails as well. And with that performance metric capture that we take, we're also able to identify any apps that see a dramatic shift or change in performance when compared to the desired destination against that baseline that we've taken. And finally, for the AVD scenarios, AVD multi-session scenarios, we're able to simulate multiple user sessions running shortcuts in parallel that can also help customers understand apps that won't run, for example, in a multi-session client OS. So I'm just going to finish saying this automated testing can really aid customers with their ongoing app lifecycle challenges by enable automated app testing that they can understand any change that could impact their applications, ideally, and we do this in pre-production, therefore without risking downtime or taking up time and cost by performing manual testing. And this change could be Windows updates or even like a migration event, for example, where we can get those apps into Intune. And like I'll just close on this side of the timings, right? So can't finish without talking about the timings of this. So we're typically able to fully automate the discovery, baseline test, and desired test of an application in under 30 minutes. And bear in mind, because we're a cloud-based solution, we're able to spin up multiple VMs in parallel, thus having this capability to run multiples of applications through discovery and testing and not being constrained by that manpower. So this allows us to significantly reduce the time it takes for customers to fully validate a change. So we take the risk out of change, which can improve security posture by enabling customers to stay evergreen, but also reducing that overhead on those customer IT teams and end users that were previously testing those apps.
Yeah, really interesting stuff there, James. And as you say, a lot of it seems to automation is the key to really being successful with this. But one thing, Nigel, that James said there, that I think always resonates is, we've always been promised about the rise of the SaaS apps, and for years it's been said that Win32 apps are going away, SaaS is going to become more prevalent. But let's be honest, they will always exist. Win32 apps, they're always going to present problems for organizations. Do you see that with the customers you're speaking to these days?
Yeah, there's a lot of issues around at the moment. many years ago, I was at a customer site, and the customer said, "Oh, we don't need Citrix, we don't need anything anymore because we're going to do everything through Oracle." It's like, really? You can do everything through Oracle? Yes, yeah. No, we've been promised the world by them. We won't need anything else. It's like, right, okay. So, and then it was HTML5 and Java, and then we get to this magnificent thing of, yeah, we're going to convert all of these applications to SaaS. I've been on customer sites where they've got an accounting app that is now SaaS based, and it opens 38, 40 tabs in what was Chrome and now Edge, destroyed any performance we had in any virtual desktops. So actually, they've gone from a pretty standard 32-bit app to something that you can't resource. So we see a lot of that with the 32-bit. There's Microsoft have produced some articles around the number of apps in the world. It's about 6 trillion. Now, how many of them are going to be able to successfully move to SaaS or something else that will come along? So we're not really going to see huge amounts in time, of course. The important thing here is the cost of moving those applications. Shane and yourself and I, we worked on these customers where those apps are absolutely key to a business, but the chance and the cost and the time to move that app is never going to happen. And so they sit there, and we've got case studies on our website about how we've taken applications which were written in the 1990s, and they are still exactly what they need now. They're a bill of materials software that still does exactly the same. They need to create a bill of materials for home improvements. It's the same process. For them to move that to a SaaS-based system was £1.5 million. So it's not going to happen. And that's where we sort of come in and we look at these and say, well, actually, they may be 32-bit. What's interesting with 32-bit apps is the amount of installers that are 16-bit. So on any modern desktop, they will have failed to install. So one of the things that's key for us is that we can take those, and rather than do an install, we can capture what they've got at the moment. So we can capture it in their running state and actually allow that to continue running in Windows 10, Windows 11. We've got some great things like Doom running in Windows 11. So 16-bit apps, doesn't matter to us. Another case study we did, which shows how we can take these apps on Windows 2008, couldn't be installed onto a modern desktop, and now they're running on Windows 2022, Windows 11, and the customer said, actually, they run better now than they've ever done. And it's about how you get that process through. So will Win32 apps go away? No, not in the next 40 or 50 years, probably. So we'll still be talking about the same things that we're talking about now. We will see the move, but we've still got to be able to cope with those applications. We're seeing the big customers we're dealing with, they may be 250,000 users or anything, or even 100,000 users. And what we do see is about 8 to 10% applications based on the number of users. So these customers have got 10,000 applications to do. Now, you're not telling me that they're going to get a lot of them to SaaS. Some of them they will, but we'll be in this situation. So for us, it's the important thing about how can we take those apps, and instead of what they're being quoted is 3 to 5 years to get those apps into a state we can move them forward in, that we can do that in significantly less time, 3 months rather than 3 years. And that's all around automation of the packaging and making sure that we understand how to move those forward.
Yeah, one of the things you said there, Nigel, was, even with a Win32 app, like you still have a 16-bit installer. So, for customers that have problematic applications like that, what are the kind of things you see with them, and what are you helping them to help modernize those applications to get them onto those newer OSs?
Yeah, so what we've created at AppCure is a system of, there's at the moment 21 methodologies of taking an app and moving it. So that could be what we call the running capture, which if that's already running on a legacy desktop or legacy server, we can actually capture that running state, put it into the format that we require. We will always go for MSIX because it's the way Microsoft are moving, and it then allows a lot of discussion around improving security and allowing you to move it. And the important thing with this is do it once and allow this to be packaged once, delivered to all. So that's the real key. But out of those packaging format ways of methodologies of getting that to a state where we do this once and then allow that to be updated as well, so that we can keep that going. But the really important thing about this is we're getting it into a native Microsoft format that is deliverable to all. We've seen projects already, and we're winning customers where they actually have they package 3 times. You know, they'll have a Citrix estate, a VMware estate, a physical estate. They may have a laptop and a PC estate, and they'll package each time. You know, we've got to get away from all of this. So everything we're looking at is reducing the complexity and reducing the time to production.
Thanks, Nigel. That's interesting there. One of the things that you mentioned there is, around, you said that someone was packaging something 3 times, and James, I know, over the years we've seen a lot of products that try to be like the single delivery mechanism, single packaging mechanism, for all the applications. Do you think we're getting any closer to that?
Probably not. I think it really depends on your situation, and some places are very they're influenced by whatever vendor they have in place, and that could affect kind of their strategy. We all say it, they're Microsoft, they're VMware, they're whatever, Citrix, so are we getting close to one solution, the Nirvana? No, absolutely not. What I would say is, I suppose, we're kind of seeing the direction Microsoft are going with them. That's obviously MSIX. But the challenge around MSIX is particularly around its the level of conversion from, as James mentioned, we've got this date coming up with AppV. So what do? AppV has been stable for years. MSIX, we know, the levels that you convert applications is at the moment fairly low. It's about 30 or 40%. So if an enterprise is looking to go from AppV to MSIX, that's not a very good ratio at the moment. So I suppose from our perspective, we are an alternative, obviously, to MSIX, and due to the way our technology works, our conversion ratios is around 90% when it comes to applications. So what we're trying to do is, while we know Microsoft will get to that stage at some point, where we're giving you an alternative to MSIX to be able to plan your kind of digital transformation, application migration strategy for the future. Because I suppose that's the big thing is kind of organizations, we've got so much flux at the moment and things coming end of life between server versions, application delivery, all of this. So just to kind of give them some stability, this is where FlexApp can really come into its own.
Yeah, and so speaking with the customers who have this mixture of the different packaging formats, you got your AppVs, your MSI, MSIX, what's the approach that you'd take with them to try and simplify and streamline the delivery of them?
Well, I suppose we kind of like anything with our customers, we approach it. We look at their estate. We do an assessment process. We look at why they're delivered in that particular format, because obviously there's certain things that need a certain delivery platform. So all the different factors you'd look at, does it have things like a kernel driver or something like that. And what we're trying to do with FlexApp is, so one of the things is around, base images. So you don't really want to be having, 20 odd images or something to maintain. We want to simplify that process. And I suppose, that the big determination is, and we have a white paper around this, is our application strategy is like, and it brings in the likes of what James and Nigel have been saying. You assess things, you test things, and then you look at the deployment, and it's a whole process. It's not just you don't just go in and start packaging applications. You have to get to that level before you get to even a stage where you can package the applications. So I think what we first do is essentially we look at we see where customers are in their journey, and some customers are just completely have no idea. They don't know what they're going to do, and there's this kind of state of inertia, and we try to assist them with that by utilizing our partners like Remo3, AppCure, all of the tools that are available to us, because it is sometimes that one vendor can't do anything, can't do it all essentially. So you do need to incorporate others, and it's that assessment, that initial assessment, I think is vital. In terms of format, as I said, we look at the use cases. What are they used for? Sometimes there's reasoning, sometimes it's just because that was what was available at the time. And we do, as I said, it's all about that assessment process and finding out where they are in their journey. And I think that's the most important thing, because you'll find someone who's nearly ready to go cloud native. Someone, another company might balk at the thought of putting anything in the cloud. So, we don't care. Our software works on cloud, works on-prem. So we're kind of platform agnostic when it comes to this kind of things, similar to the guys.
One thing you said there that I really liked was when you said that organizations are kind of in a state of inertia. I like that, because, and this is for all three of you. I get the sense that a lot of organizations really are not comprehending that Windows 10 is actually going to be going end of support so soon. I've seen a lot of customers who really only in the last maybe 24 months have finally got away from Windows 7 onto Windows 10, and it's kind of like, they're dusting their hands. Well, that's that now for another 5 years, nothing to worry about. Do you think
exactly
a lot of organizations are not paying attention and not realizing this?
Well, look, we know, say, if we take Ireland, we know our own government paid for the Windows 7 extended support across the health sector, all the government departments, because there was this, what are we going to do? And I'm sure it's the same. I'm sure the guys will say it's the same in the UK as well. So it's crazy, and we are getting to the stage where things are changing so much quicker, but a lot of organizations are just not prepared for that.
There's the challenges, of course, of hardware as well. So it's not just a software upgrade, is there? So, I'm running a Microsoft Surface here, and you'd have hoped that would be able to be upgraded to Windows 11, but no, it's not. It's only 4 years old, and it can't be upgraded to Windows 11. So if I'm in that situation, you imagine the other enterprises who tend to have sweated their assets over the last few years, how they are going to be able to get to Windows 11. That's before they think about the apps and everything else. So it's a much bigger project, this one.
Yeah, but also I think Microsoft is just sort of sitting back and rubbing their hands together, as well as the hardware OEMs a little bit as well. It's like customers, like from the hardware OEM side, they're like, right, customers need to get a load of new devices in, so that's awesome. But then Microsoft are like saying, well, you need to go to Windows 11, it's happening. So hey, if your existing hardware can't take that upgrade to Win 11, so go Windows 365 then. So we'll give you you can buy a cloud PC and that can run Windows 11, and therefore you can stay supported. And so like customers are facing this challenge either way, and we are starting to see now budgets start to be allocated for that Windows 11 move, but it's late in the day now, and they're going to start panicking in the next 6 months if they haven't started yet.
Yeah, like I said, you get the sense that for some organizations, it's kind of just going to creep up on them and surprise them out of nowhere. So definitely, I think people do need to start paying more attention to it. And that's very interesting what you said there, Nigel, about the, not just the software part of it, the hardware part of it. That is something that gets lost in the mix quite easily, because you assume, hey, if it can run Windows 10, it can run Windows 11. That's not always the case, is it?
No, it's to do with the processor chipset. Microsoft put some. Well, I think when they initially announced 11, it was way harsher, and they had to actually roll back because there was practically 2-year-old laptops that couldn't run it. I had a Dell XPS, and when 11 first came out, I couldn't run it. I had to make it work. So.
When they first launched Windows 11, it was very much pushback from enterprise and I was at Microsoft at the time, so I was hearing this firsthand, and it was very much felt that it was a consumer-focused release. It had no real value to the enterprise. They didn't understand why Microsoft were making this move, and I think Microsoft have tried very hard over the last couple of years to bring those enterprise features to market, such as the additional security features that landed probably 12 months ago, and now of course they're bundling in the Bing Enterprise Chat Copilot stuff as well to make it more compelling to customers, although I think most enterprise customers are trying to find out the way to turn it off already before it even gets rolled out. But yeah, Microsoft, they're trying hard to convince customers to move forward.
Well, they really want you on Azure.
I guess we go back to the same old adage. Each of these projects is 3 to 5 years. So, if they haven't started, or if they're only just on that starting thing, it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. And that's not just the hardware and the software and the apps; it's all together. So that's people have got to think about it now and start really focusing. And otherwise, they'll be on extended support.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Nigel. And Microsoft are even threatening not to have extended support, but it's likely they will.
Yes,
but those, like the large banks,
That's not last time. and we saw what happened with Windows 7. So I don't believe that because as we've said, there's so many organizations that just won't move until they absolutely have to. So yeah.
Yeah, it always tends to be the same culprits every time, whether it's the public sector or the financials or the healthcare verticals. They seem to be locked in this constant circle chasing their tails. Couple of questions come in there. One for James, Remo, 3 James. Just for your software, what operating systems are you able to run your testing against?
So as I said, we are agnostic. So any Windows OS, so we support Windows applications. So any Windows OS we support. So we're able to provision VMs with Azure Marketplace, so vanilla images. So anything available to provision on Azure Marketplace, gallery images, able to support. So that's fine. But ideally, what we want you to do, if you still create your own custom build, so bring that with you to the platform, because really that, as I said, makes it contextually relevant to your environment when we do those tests. And it's actually quite hard to make an app fail on vanilla Windows 11, and it's the customers doing their environment that causes apps to fail. It's those customizations that it's the hardening, it's turning certain features on or off, or closing those gaps, whether that's regulatory requirements or just things that they've always done in the past. But it's these things that cause apps to fail. So yes, ideally, custom build, and therefore we're able to get you real valid data to help you make those informed decisions on what is the right app format for you, and what challenges do you need to solve fixes do you need to make when you looking at that move to a new OS or a new sort of workspace?
Good, thank you. Question about AppCure, Nigel. We have many AppV packages that we need to move away from. Can AppCure help with that?
And so absolutely, and it's actually quite a core piece of what we're doing at the moment. There's a few steps with AppV, obviously, because people are still on AppV 4.6. Yet again, they haven't moved because, and this has been always been a big problem, is that as you've increased the versions of AppV, the amount that successfully packaged has been less. I introduced SoftGrid into the UK in 2003, I think it was, and we were hitting 80–90% with AppV, and it was brilliant. And as it's gone down, as we got to AppV 5, it got down to probably 50% or something like that. And so 4.6 is always a little bit more of a challenge, but of course we have this running capture, so we can actually run a 4.6 and actually capture what's happening rather than doing a conversion. 5.1 is great. We have, and yet again, same with the MV and MSIX, we've created our own packages to avoid this 40% packaging systems, to avoid this 40% success rate. So as James said, we're hitting 90% at least with all we've done, and Microsoft have validated all the things we've done. So, but the move from AppV to 5.1 onwards is absolutely a key thing. 2026 yet again is not far away. Shane and we've talked about customers who are actually now implementing AppV. You know, it's that's what happens. You know, particularly these large partners which will think it's still okay to do that. It's got to stop. And AppV hasn't been worked on since 2016. I think was the last time they actually did anything other than security updates. So it's really important that we start that conversations around the way we can get to MSIX. It then allows us to get to AppAttach. There's loads and loads of news coming through around both of those technologies. So yeah, absolutely, we've got to get off AppV to 2026. Yes, it's just after the Windows 11 and 2019 to get off as well, or Windows 10 and Windows 2019. So yeah, there's plenty to think about, but we certainly could do that.
Yeah, very, very good. There's a question here about the Flex app, James, sorry. Does Flex app easily convert other formats to its own format, and is that the recommended approach?
It depends. So what we do with Flex app, we integrate it with our Profile Unity solution. So Profile Unity can manage and deploy applications such as AppV, ThinApp, we have a tool obviously to convert them to Flex app. So it really depends on what the customer wants to do, and they're kind of, but obviously our preferred option would be to convert them all to Flex apps, because then you potentially have you know, you have all the benefits of them being Flex apps. But if there's reasons why they as I said, we're not pushing in that scenario to convert. We can accommodate all. I suppose the other thing is to look at is what we have. We have what's called Flex App 1, which creates its own self-contained executable, and it can run. So it depends on where your devices are. So this can run on, you know, remote endpoints that don't have a connection to the internet and that. So it just depends on the scenario. But yes, we can convert any format into a Flex app.
Cool. Thanks for that, James.
No problem.
Before we start wrapping up, we'll put the three of you on the spot. Any predictions in the application space for next year?
More of the same.
They're never going to be easy, are they?
I think there'll be a lot of focus because of the security issues that are coming. That's getting more and more important to us, to our customers. So hence, by allowing the people to get off their legacy applications and legacy servers, we're improving their ability to to meet to things like cyber essentials. So security is absolutely a key part of the driver to move forward.
Yeah, I predict we'll be here in 12 months' time having the same conversation, likely. But I also agree with Nigel around security. Like I know, like Dave Weston at Microsoft, around 6 months' time, he talked around this sort of advancing the secure package container, which is almost like hinting of this evolution of the MSIX container, perhaps. I don't know, but perhaps more focus around, I don't know, it's been around a while as well anyway, but containerization of apps and app layering, I don't know. But I think that I'd like to see that there'll be more AVD consumption. Microsoft, as Nigel hinted, app attach will become easier and perhaps more open to other platforms. Maybe that would be nice. And yeah, we'll see.
Awesome, thank you guys. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up here. Want to say a big thank you to James, Nigel, and James, representing Remo 3, AppCure, and Liquidware for your thoughts today. Enjoyed the conversations with you all. Just a reminder for those of you who are attending, so if you attend all 3 of the series, you will be in a draw for a 1,000 euro voucher, so you could win a holiday. And the third and final in our series, Find the Sweet Spot, User Experience versus IT Requirements, will be taking place on the 28th of November at 2 p.m. So you can register that via the QR code that is on screen. Once again, thank you to my 3 panelists. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks
very much, Shane.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for attending and have a good rest of the day. Bye now.
Thank you.